Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you a fun fold card. This may look like an ordinary card, but it opens backwards from the cards that you're used to. And when you open the card, you get a fun surprise. It's a pop-up card. I'm calling this a Shadow Box Fun Fold. This card was inspired by a fellow demonstrator, my friend Christine, and she gave me the card as a swap at one of our conferences, and it was so great I thought I just have to share. Now you might be thinking, why in the world does it open up opposite a regular card? I'm not sure exactly, but I do have some thoughts on that, and one reason I think is because that way when you open the card, if you want to write your message in it, typically for most right-handers it's easier to write like this, whereas if we were to flip it around, I know I'd be ripping the heck out of this trying to write my message. I'd sweat all over the card. It would be a disaster. So having it open this way, just as easier to write my sentiment in, and it also stands up a little bit nicer. I contemplated doing it the other way and I stuck with the original design. So if you like it better the other way, do it the other way. But we are going to walk through it in this orientation, and then if you decide you like it better the other way, all you have to do is rotate the card around. So let's go ahead and get started. We're featuring all the new in colors this evening. They've been around for a little bit, so they're not exactly new, but new enough. Now you can get the two main pieces of this card from one sheet of cardstock. So I took a piece of 8.5 by 11. This is Timid Tiger, and it is 4.25 by 11. So I just cut the paper in half. And then I scored it twice, and I have mine upside down. So I scored the long side at 5.5, which is our midpoint, and then 9.75. So I'm just going to fold on both of those score lines. And as I mentioned, it's going to seem a little backwards to you, but this will be the front of your card. And then this is part of the shadow box that we'll put together in a minute. So the second piece that you can cut from that full sheet of paper is what I'm calling the pop-up piece. And it is 4.25 by 6.75. It's scored on the 6.75 inch side at 1 1/4 inch and 5.5. And then I took the Stylish Shapes die set and I used the largest circle and I just cut it right out of the middle of the panel that is created in between your score lines. And I'll do this so you can see it a little bit better. Now I do have one big tip for you. I ran into some trouble when I was trying to put my cards together, and it's something that was very curious. Normally you would think if you took 4.25 and 4.25, you would get 8.5, right? Well, I discovered that mine was 4.25 and 4.25 and a smidge. So when I was trying to line my card pieces up, this piece kept turning out a little bit longer or wider than the base piece. It was driving me crazy. So once I finally figured it out, I went back, and yes, there was just a sliver extra on more than one color of cardstock, so I didn't realize how many of mine were off just a little bit. So what I did was I took this pop-up panel and I just took a sliver off the long side. Well, I guess it's more off the short side, but you know what I mean. Now, if I hold them up here flush, you're gonna see it's probably maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It might be a little more than I wanted, but that's okay. I would rather this piece be a little shorter because in the grand scheme of things, your recipient is not going to notice. But if it's hanging over the edge, trust me, they're going to notice. It'll bother you in particular because it'll make it difficult for you to assemble the card. So I just wanted to share that tip so that you don't struggle the way I did with some of the cards. Okay, so let's get started with the decorating. Now we're going to start with this piece on the inside. So remember, this is the back of your shadow box piece. It's about 4.25 inches square. You can use cardstock or DSP, but I am using a piece of Darling Duckling Designer Series paper from one of our new in color packs. There's a beautiful floral on the other side. I almost hate to glue that down, but I'm going to. And that is going to be the base that I'm going to stamp my message on. You can also decorate the card however you like. I would stick with smaller images. I'm really kind of pushing the envelope on the width of this stamp. If it was any bigger, my recipient wouldn't be able to see the words. But I wanted to use the stamp set because it's nice and big. And I'll show you here. I'm using the Happy Birthday from Layered Thoughts. I really love the big words in this set. And then for the rest of the images tonight that we'll see in a little bit, I'm using the Sweet Jar stamp set and the coordinating punch. So we'll get to this in a little bit. All right, so we're gonna start with Secret Sea ink and our large Happy Birthday stamp. Now, because this is large, I'm going to bring my stamp pad to the stamp, or my ink pad to the stamp. Normally I bring my stamp to the ink pad, but with larger images, sometimes it's easier to get good ink coverage and really be able to tell that you got the entirety of your stamp by bringing the ink pad to the stamp. I was stamping this morning and almost missed the top of my sailboat, which you're gonna see later on in the samples, but because I was trying to bring my stamp to the ink pad, almost made a mistake. All right, so there we go. And I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat because the stamps are photopolymer, they're clear, and they don't have a built-in cushion. So this gives me a nice clear impression when I stamp, which is definitely what I want when I'm creating. For most of the card, you can use whichever adhesive is your favorite, whether it be a tape runner or liquid glue or tear and tape. There's one spot in particular I recommend a stronger adhesive. My adhesive is so strong it's sticking to my fingers. All right, so we will go ahead and assemble the pop-up piece to the card. If you want, if you're more comfortable, you can decorate the card front first and then glue this in. Up to you, really no order to it. So fold on your score lines. And what we're going to do is we want to line up one edge on the inside front of the card, and then we're going to glue this panel to the other small panel on the other side. So what I recommend for a really strong adhesive hold is tear and tape or Stampin' Seal Plus. It's just a little bit stronger adhesive than our regular Stampin' Seal. And I did use I used mostly Stampin' Seal Plus when I was assembling my cards, but I wanted to show you the tear and tape option as well. And what I like to do is I put one row of either adhesive or tear and tape along the score line and then one on the edge of the card. So I'm going to peel these off. And then I find it easier to turn the card sideways because it's a little less bulky to work with. My tear and tape panel is flipped over and face down. And I'm gonna line it up just at that score line. I really don't want it on it, but I want it as close as possible to it. And that way the card will still operate the way I want it to. Okay? Now I'm going to take the other panel and do the same thing. One strip of tear and tape on the score line, or close to the score line, not really on it. And then one up against the edge of the paper. And I just use a clear block so I get a nice crisp break on the tape. It's easier for me to pull them up. So I'm gonna take the backing off, and then what I'm going to do here is fold the card. You can also make sure your card is down, and I just realized I glued that backwards. What I should have done is put the tape here and folded it, so my flaps are going to be backwards, but that's okay. My card is not going, I'm going to, hold please, the joys of live videos. I'm actually going to cheat just a little bit here and cut a smidge off my panel because I can tell that this would be easier without the tear and tape one. But I think I have an idea. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna take just a smidge of the cardstock off here since I goofed And since it's already got adhesive on it, I don't want to cut my mat. We'll see if this works or not. Okay, we're going for it. All right, so you'll do it better than I am. Oh, and it actually did work. Okay. Ooh, that was close. I didn't think it was gonna work. Normally, I don't want my seam to be up here at the top, so make sure you put your adhesive on the bottom. Don't do as I did, do as I said. But it actually works. But I will tell you, when you go to close this for the first time, it's gonna resist a little bit and you're probably gonna think, oh gosh, I goofed it up. Just give it a little gentle squish and it will collapse the way it's supposed to, especially if you do it the right way. See, anybody can do this. And then when you open it up, it actually does work. Mine's gonna have a little buckle in it because I goofed, but yours will be beautiful, I promise. All right, so let's get to decorating. I'll do that better, I hope. Okay, so we're gonna layer up the front of the card. The first layer, which I'm calling layer 1 for the front, strawberry slush, 5 3/16 of an inch by 4 1/16 of an inch. Normally I don't like to fool with 16ths, but I did it for this card. And you can go back to your favorite adhesive. Really, I feel like the only thing that needs that strong grip is the pop-up panel piece because you don't want your card coming apart. I think I almost got ink on the front of this card too, somehow. Some way, but I just covered up where I thought I got ink, so nobody knows but me. Now I'm gonna add another layer. I could use DSP for this or plain cardstock. I am using embossed cardstock. This is 3 15/16 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch. And I chose to emboss this one with one of our basic embossing folders, which is an online exclusive. And speaking of which, you can check out all our products online at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. Stampin' Up! Has been rolling out online exclusives every month. They've been phenomenal. And we have 2 kits that release every month, and they've been beautiful as well. So the kits definitely make crafting easy. So if you're a beginner crafter or you're a little unsure, feel free to grab one of those and I'll walk you right through it. But if you're a more avid stamper, more seasoned stamper, plenty of things for you there too. And you can find me on Facebook as The Faithful Stamper. Okay, so let's decorate a bit. As I mentioned earlier, I am using the Sweet Jar stamp set. So I'm gonna bring over my Stampin' Pierce mat again. I have a scrap of basic white, and I'm going to use Secret C to get started. Stamp my jar. Now remember, firm pressure, but firm even pressure, not heavy pressure. Don't do CPR on your stamps. That blurs the images, it puts too much ink on your paper, and I have enough trouble with that already without adding to it. So, press firmly but gently. Now we're gonna fill the inside of the jar with something a little unusual, birthday candles. Now you might be thinking, who would put candles in a jar? Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, that's who. So I'm going to use Timid Tiger ink as well as Cloud Cover ink. And I'm going to use the single image of a candle alternated with a triple candle in the Timid Tiger. Now, you might be thinking there's a gap in there. Guess what? The single stamp of the candle fits right in between. And then I can space this perfectly, especially if I'm careful. Almost put the wrong ink color in there twice. If you keep your candles pretty close together, you can kind of perfectly fill that jar. Now for the candle tops, I am using Darling Duckling ink. That is our yellow. And there is a trio of candle tips, as well as what I'm calling our Flame with Pizzazz. This one has a ring around it. And the great thing about the, pardon me, photopolymer stamps is that you can see what you're doing to line up your candle flame on the top of your candles. Now, while I have this out for 1 minute, I'm going to quickly, decided to get a tickle in my throat, stamp the candle trio and then one single candle. I'm not going to go nuts, but on the front of the envelope, there's my Flame with Pizzazz, and whoop, almost lost those trios of flames. There we go. Envelope done. I'm going to take our Sweet Jar Builder Punch and go ahead and punch out the jar. Now you will notice that this punches out not only the jar, but a lid as well. Although I think I cut the top off my lid just barely. And since I seem to be on a roll for disasters tonight, I was gonna stamp directly on this, but there's just a smidge cut off. So I'm gonna grab the lid stamp and just stamp that independently. And then punch this out. Okay, that's better. Now, I could actually cut part of this off and use this as a template, and I could stamp the lid and the jar together and then punch it out. So you can do that with any multi-image stamp set where there's no overlapping. Doesn't work with all the punches, but does with this one. Okay, so let's get our inks out of the way. I hope I don't stick anything in them. Oh, I forgot one little bit of stamping. I have a banner here, also from the Stylish Shapes set. And I know I said happy birthday on the inside, but I'm gonna repeat it on the outside as well. I needed a little something. I wanted to have a sentiment on this banner. Okay, I'm losing all sorts of things. I have dimensionals, which I even, aha, here they are. They were under a card. So I even used a trick. You might notice that my dimensionals are yellow in color, and if you've got some that aren't, you might be thinking, how is that? I took a highlighter and highlighted the whole back of the sheet of dimensionals. I let it dry, and then normally when I lose them on my craft table, I can find them. And also, when I put them on a project, normally what I have to do is I'll put them on the project, peel the backing off, and then think, did I already take that one off? And I have to test them all with my fingers. Well, I can look at this and say, yep, there's that little bit of yellow. I need to take all the backings off. So just a fun little trick I heard from a demonstrator friend that makes my life a little bit easier most of the time when I lose my dimensionals. And I don't know about you crafters, but I lose my dimensionals more on my craft table than I lose anything else. Okay, so I'm gonna bring over my silicone craft mat because I didn't want to bore you to death, but you might be thinking one jar is a little plain. How about 3? So I pre-stamped a couple because I didn't want to bore you with all those candles. Would have made you very nervous. And I'm already off the rails enough this evening as it is. So 2 of them I'm going to put adhesive on, and I'll put them on flat. This one I will add dimensionals to. So what I'm gonna do is put 1 jar over here and 1 jar over here. And the main reason I brought my silicone craft mat out is because these lids are on the skinny side. And if I were to do this on my craft table, I would muck up the whole thing and then I'd be stuck in glue everywhere. So I'm purposely not putting the lids flat on the jars. It's just how I decided I wanted to do that. Again, I can tell I haven't taken the dimensional backings off since I've got that little yellow highlighter. I like to use pink and purple, then they really stand out on my craft table. And let's see. And then I'm gonna put 1 more mini dimensional here on this lid. And now to finish this card off, I'm just gonna add a couple of our smallest basic rhinestones. Trying to use up the end of this particular sheet so I can break out a new one. Now, you could call your card finished right here, but I like to write messages in my card. Now, the original sample, which I'll show you in a moment, did not have any kind of sentiment panel. I'm gonna add one to the inside of the card. You could also add one to the back instead. It would be the same size, which is a 4-inch square of basic white. I'm gonna break out these candles one more time and stamp them on the bottom corner. I think I may have set the record for number of stamps I used in a video. A little darling duckling on our candle flames. Promise, we're almost done. And then I have, let's see, a fun little sentiment, which I'm going to stamp in Secret Sea ink, sending a little blank your way. And the stamp set comes with several different words that you can fill in. There's some shamrock images, so you could do sending a little luck your way. I think it says treat as well. I'm going to use party because those candles make me think of a birthday party. So sending a little party your way to go with the happy birthday theme. A little bit of stamp and seal on the inside of the card. And then there is our Shadow Box Fun Fold happy birthday card. Now, I told you I would show you the original inspiration for this card. So here it is. This was from my friend Christine, as I mentioned, a swap at Onstage, which is our demonstrator conference that we had in North Carolina earlier this year. She die cut an image and colored it for the inside of her card, and then the front kept simple with circles and a little bit of ribbon accent, so you can decorate however you like. Excuse me. Now, I felt this card screamed out for the turtles, so here is our turtly awesome birthday card. I layered shaded spruce and basic white, more shaded spruce that is textured with our turtle texture embossing folder. I die cut and fussy cut images from our turtle DSP, added some gems, and then I accented on the inside a little bit. I have my sentiment on the panel, glued on some DSP, but I also added our little friend here, a strip of designer series paper at the bottom. I didn't quite have enough room and I didn't like the way it looked at the top. I was gonna do top and bottom stripes. So I belatedly added some birthday hats, almost said cakes, birthday hats, tone on tone. So that's shaded spruce ink on shaded spruce cardstock. And it just kind of perked up the paper a little bit. And then last but not least, I have a card featuring our Sunrise Sailing Bundle. This is the first time I have used the multi-purpose embossing folder. It embosses, but it also die cuts as well. And I die cut the sailboat, and then I stamped on the sailboat and then added it back with dimensionals. Added some other images. You can see just a little bit of the water here at the bottom. I could have added color with blending brushes or sponge daubers, and to the clouds as well. And then I kept this really simple on the inside. So there we have our Shadow Box Fun Fold cards. So I hope you enjoyed learning a new card technique. If you haven't already subscribed to the page, I'd love to have you here as a subscriber. I promise I'm not usually as chaotic as this was tonight. These videos are here forever. You can also see live videos on my Facebook page. Those videos are always up 30 days at a time, but my YouTubes are here always. And I just appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to take a look at my crafting videos. Take care and happy crafting.